Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Big League Breakdowns. In this episode 25 of the show, we are going to be recapping the World Series where the Dodgers defeated the Yankees and discussing our preseason predictions and how they all added up. The boys are all here. John making it in the nick of time, um, but he's in here safe at home plate and
It came lumbering around home like Freddie Freeman.
See,
like
this is where if
like
we had
Giancarlo
sponsors, this would
Stanton,
be the point
rather.
you would put the sponsor in.
Well, it's funny. I said we needed to have a Luden sponsor today because I have been eating Luden's cough drops like they're candy. Um,
Oh, you a sicky boy.
I am a sicky boy. Apologies if you just hear coughing through the show. I'm gonna try my best to mute it, but
I
um,
had this sick last week. Tyler has it now.
yes,
John's
I
gonna have it
have
next.
my nice cup of tea and my Winnie the Pooh Animal Kingdom mug, and we're chilling. But
Ooh.
yeah,
Ooh.
I
Look at
said I wanted this to
you.
be tea time. No one
yes,
jumped on it.
we
I just
are
got a lot of talk, no
we are
action.
getting into the tea game. So
Does
That's
whiskey
not tea.
count? That's my tea.
yeah,
Oh, I
well.
I got
got an
Coke
empty
Zero.
bottle of Kool-Aid.
in a
I,
in
I
a
got
water
Soda
bottle.
Zero, I should say.
Yeah,
Not
there you
because
go.
not a sponsor.
All
Not a
right,
sponsor.
let's kick off this discussion about the World Series. It goes to the Dodgers. Ultimately, the team that everybody thought would win ends up winning in the end, and really
Actually, hold on. I want to
comfortably.
correct that statement. I want to correct that statement.
Okay.
I don't think we thought they would win. We thought they should win on paper.
Oh
I
yeah, yeah.
don't. I don't think we thought they would win. Honestly, I thought the Phillies were more of a favorite than the Dodgers.
That's
Um,
correct in saying. Yeah.
yeah.
I mean, preseason wise, you look at that roster. Otani comes in, obviously, will make any team a contender, probably the biggest contender, and we got what we thought. They did it in ways sometimes that were a little different. Maybe their pitching got really obliterated throughout the year, but they were able to hold together. And that'll be
Oh,
a
boo
talking point in
hoo.
this one. Here we go again
Boo
with John doesn't
hoo.
care about the Dodgers injuries. But I think
When you
I
can buy anyone you want, I don't
so can
care
the
about your
Yankees.
injuries.
So can the Yankees, and they didn't win. So
That's their problem.
and the Yankees have a interesting offseason coming up. That'll be for another episode. But I think this first game I think the first and fifth game are, for obvious reasons, big talking points of this series. I think game one, Freddie Freeman hits the walk-off grand slam. We've questioned Aaron Boone for a while. A lot of fans have. We've questioned him this year even. He got him to the World Series, but um, he brings in Nestor Cortez to try to keep the game going and close out the game and excuse me, already starting with the coughing issues. But I mean, that move backfires pretty quickly. Freddie absolutely nukes one. I mean, he comes in for Otani, gives him a meatball right down the plate, but Otani pops it up. He does the same thing to Freeman, literally right down the middle, and he absolutely nukes it. Like, what are your thoughts there for like the Yankees? It seemed like a really strange decision.
You do not bring in a pitcher in that key of a situation who has not pitched in a month. I know Boone had no regrets, at least in the Cortez side of it, with his decision. But when you have two lefties up in the bullpen and you're going to go with the one that did not pitch September 19th in that situation, you are asking for trouble. Those are the types of moves that when they happen in the moment, you're either like, this is going to be this is going to work out and you're going to be a genius, or it's going to fail and you're an absolute moron. Well, guess what, Aaron Boone? You're an absolute moron for this move. Now, I'm not going to say that Boone is the reason they lost the series. There is much more than just that going on. Heck, you got Freddie Freeman hitting this walk-off here as well as having a series of his life, and with not only coming off the ankle injury, but also having a broken rib, apparently,
I
that
love it.
the Yankees did absolutely nothing. And absolutely clearly, the Dodgers wanted it more as everyone stepped up, especially when Otani got hurt after basically at the end of game two with that slide and was nothing for the last three games.
Yeah, and I mean, this is a game that the Dodgers really emptied the tank here a little bit. They did use a lot of assets in this
Oh,
game.
yeah, in game five,
Yeah.
especially.
But hey, it comes out in the end, and again, I just feel like that move, putting Cortez in, was not the play there. And really, I mean, it was evident in this game as well as it was the whole series. The Yankees' offense was just slumpy. And look, this is a team that had relied on the long ball a lot, but they just were not really getting contributions from parts of the lineup they needed to. And in the end, they just didn't put up a strong series, especially in that game 2 and 3. I mean, they made it interesting late, but they really slowed down. So. John, I'll pose this question to you. I think coming into this series, we had given the Yankees the edge in starting pitching. If you looked at both sides, and it was really the Dodgers pitching, which was the story here. Was it more the Dodgers pitching being great? Because, I mean, Yamamoto in game 2 was amazing, or was it the Yankees just struggling at the plate?
I excuse me. Wow. Okay.
Welcome to
Got
the
that.
show.
Yeah. I'm getting
There cannot be two of you at the same time having this issue. Come
getting
on now,
choked up
lock
over
it in.
here. Getting choked up over here about the poor Yankees. Honestly, when it comes down to this, I think that just the Yankees hitting, it didn't look. The game 2 was a what, 11-0, 11 to what
Game,
was the score? Game 2?
game
4-2.
4-2. Game 4, the Yankees won
Sorry,
11-4.
there was a blowout from the Dodgers, wasn't there?
No,
No.
you're thinking of the last series.
Uh,
Get your head out of the gutter.
I'm sorry.
Wrong New
Oh,
York
God.
team.
I'll give you a pass because this was a pretty forgettable series, honestly, for the first couple games. It was, I
The
was,
first game and the last game were interesting. Everything
yeah,
else in the middle was fluff.
yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Like the first game was great. The drama built up on that walk-off situation obviously was fantastic, but as I kind of already
Well, I mean,
alluded
just
to,
look at. I think that I really think that the final scores really say it all. It's pretty hard to beat a team when you give up, 7 runs and 6 runs in 2 key games. That being game 1 and obviously
Well,
game
game one, that's
5.
a little unfair on game one's part, just because it was 9 innings, a 3-run ball, and then the 10th inning was poor situational putting players in spots.
yeah.
Okay, they still gave up those runs though. I mean, fine. All right, we'll give them game 1, but at the same time, when you give up 4 runs, and 6 runs, that's not necessarily a recipe for success. Let's put it that way.
But that
And
worked all the
honestly,
other
the
rounds.
Dodgers, yeah, but the Dodgers, in my opinion, you know, they had key situational hitting,
Yeah,
whereas the Yankees really, I feel like it,
you were correct
I
on
go
that.
back to the last 2 runs of the series. The Dodgers scored on 2 fly balls, you know? So to me, that's key situational hitting where all right, we got bases loaded. I don't need to hit a home run here. I just need to get the ball out of the infield.
I mean, the Dodgers win game 2 hitting only home runs, right? I mean, they have Edmund home run in the second inning. They have a 2-run shot by Hernandez in the third, and then they have another solo shot by Freeman. And we had talked about these teams coming in. They were tops in the league in home runs, and that's not a surprise. You see who's on the roster. And it was kind of the thing, like at some point, sometimes these teams, kind of die by the long ball, and it just felt like the Yankees fell victim to that. Judge really never got out of his slump this postseason. He picked it up a little bit in game 4 and game 5, but was absent in the first couple games. I mean, Stanton continued to play well. Soto was getting on base a lot, doing his thing, but it just felt like I don't want to say that the Yankees all the time relied on Judge, throughout the year for every game, but you knew obviously when the playoffs come around, he's gonna have to step up, and he just didn't. And eventually, they do fall victim, and it just felt like this series really, like the games outside of game 4, the games are close. It's a 3-run game, a 2-run game, a 2-run game, but the games, as Will said, it was a lot of fluff. There wasn't much happening in those games. I mean, the Yankees get late runs, but it just was not great. And as you said, I mean, can we talk like Freddie Freeman? There's really a lot of guys in the league that are just so hard to hate. Freeman is easily at the top of that list. As a Phillies fan, I hope you have the same sentiment, Will.
I have a lot of respect for Freddie Freeman.
I mean, I think I was telling you guys this. I can't remember. I was telling somebody, but Fox did a piece about Freeman. I think it was Fox about how, he lost his mom to cancer when he was really young. And then when he was 12, he had to, get his dad to the hospital because he was having a medical emergency. And they were like, if he didn't get to the hospital, like your dad would have died. And like he was 12 years old. Like he's had a lot of adversity in his life. I know his son had a medical diagnosis. I don't remember exactly what it was, but this guy has been through so much in his life and a lot of adversity, even in this postseason with the injuries that we're hearing about, that we knew about, and now that we're hearing about, and just a great guy. And he was just, I mean, amazing. And really that game one walk-off grand slam. I mean, just absolutely killed it, knew it. The bat drop and everything. It was a pretty electric moment. But yeah, man, like outside of that, game two, game three, whatever, Yankees finally put something together, game four. And get the win there. But I think the other big talking point in this series is the game five. And I think this is gonna haunt Yankees fans for a long time with that 5-0 lead and that top of the fifth inning. I mean, it's just inexcusable. And John, I mean,
How
what
do you
are
leave your starter in there? How do you leave
I
him in
don't,
there?
but
I
it's
understand
not.
it's Garrett Cole,
But
but
is it
it's
is it even? Well,
series.
the last play is his fault, right? Or the one where he doesn't cover first. But like, what are we doing, guys? Like Judge dropping an easy fly ball, Volpe the play at third. Like it's just plays that can't happen, and you just know stuff like this is possible when you allow a team like the Dodgers to get extra chances in an inning. They're gonna hurt you, and they tied up the game there. So like, I don't know. To me, it felt like after that, the Yankees were holding on for dear life, but it just wasn't enough. Any thoughts on that? I mean, well, I'll go to you first, I guess, on this. I mean, just inexcusable and can't happen.
Yeah, they absolutely gave away that game. And I mean, there wasn't anyone I think that truly thought the Yankees would win this series after being down 3-0. But I mean, they had the routine fly ball that Judge dropped. A little less routine on the Volpe situation with the ground ball to his right side, but he threw it to third, which is the right move. But I mean, maybe a better third baseman, or at least I should say an actual third baseman, might have had that pick. Volpe, if he took the fraction of a second longer and didn't spike it, could have gotten me out. But the Cole not going to first base was the dagger, and that was kind of the summary of the Yankees as a whole throughout. Probably not just the postseason, but the regular season, in the sense that they get the big bats that can come through for them when they needed to, but they weren't always a sound team at times, especially defensively. And at the end there, when they're literally at a game that could have meant they were going home, even though they were up 5-0, they let their guard down way too much. And the Dodgers kept chipping away as they always did throughout the entire series. Even in the blowout game in game four, the Dodgers were only down by like 2 or 3 runs going into the eighth inning. They were still fighting until the Yankees blew it away. And so that's going to be the thing that the Yankees look back on is what could they do in the future to make sure that they can stay strong fundamentally throughout the season and into the postseason, because you cannot have something like that in the fifth inning determine how your season ends.
Well,
That,
here's my question: Is that come down to accountability in terms of the Yankees? Like, is their manager Aaron Boone, is he holding them accountable for
Well, at that
these
point,
issues?
it's so many. Accountability is always the thing where that tends to be more of an argument to me when you have individual things that slowly pop up throughout the season and then someone you hold accountable, for what they did and making sure they don't do it again. When everything falls apart like that, then that's just a team wide thing lacking focus or putting too much pressure on themselves or whatever. I mean, I'd say the moment just got a little too much for them, maybe at times. I think Judge was just too lackadaisical on the fly ball. Did he lose it in the light maybe for a second? Probably not. It looked like more like he was looking at the runner. The Volpe ground ball and then throwing to third was a bit more of just in the heat of the moment. Is probably the one that is half understandable from a team that
Yeah.
at times is a little shaky defensively. And then Cole was more of he probably got a little eager that this was the ground ball that's going to do it. The second he didn't field it, it was kind of like, yeah, we got this though. Looked over and was like, ah, shit.
I mean that ball had some weird backspin. Because that was with 2 outs, right? Yeah, because he went bases loaded, strikeout, that play, I think it was. And I think it's probably what it was. It was an adrenaline thing where he sees this ball get hit. The backspin was kind of weird, so like it kind of rolled a little too slow to Rizzo. And I think it was too late when he realized, oh, I gotta cover this bag.
But he
And
didn't break that way. He broke 90
yeah,
right
yeah,
at the
right.
line.
Yeah.
So
there's
once he
also-
chose that, he was done
Yeah.
for.
Well, there's also Mookie Betts is sprinting as fast
Yeah.
as he can down the field or down the line.
Yeah.
Yeah, but with the
gotta-
pitcher situation
get-
too, if you don't even break towards the base, you break it all to the line. You have to do a full redirect
Yeah.
to try to make it to the base. So there was absolutely no way he was going to make it anyway. He, I think, was just full on not realizing how hard or how the ball was hit and was like, Rizzo's going to be like X feet away from the bag. He's got it when Rizzo kind of took a step back and took it on the hop.
And I think it's easy for us to say from, a viewing standpoint of, okay, that's a play that can't happen. But I think you're probably right, Will, in the sense that, there was adrenaline there. It was a big moment. He finally gets a ground ball. They get out of that inning. There's a good chance they take game 2, send it back to LA. With a 5-run lead going into what would be the top, or at least a 5-run lead going into the top of the 6th. And, it just can't happen. And man, like when this stuff happens, it was I think it was the playing game with Edwin Diaz when he didn't cover the bag. And then the next batter comes up and like hits a home run, I think, and the Braves took lead. And eventually the Mets did end up winning that game. But whenever it happens, whenever like the pitcher makes a mistake like that where they're not covering the bag, something happens, the next batter comes up and they always deliver. And you just kind of knew it was going to happen. And I really think from that point on, the Yankees were kind of, I mean, they were shook after that. They do take the lead again in the next inning. But it was the Dodgers again just shipping away, getting those base runners on, and eventually just too much for the Yankees. But
I think even with the Yankees getting that last run for them, the Dodgers had the momentum. And honestly, in baseball, throughout a game, throughout a series, like especially in the playoffs, you can feel the momentum. And when it's for the other team and when it's for your team, and it's just a scary thing,
yeah. And it took the air out of the building, obviously. I think that I really did believe before that 5th inning, I was like, I know a reverse sweep is just it sounds impossible, especially going back to LA. But like you kind of felt like even like the New York fans were still kind of like hyped after that game 4 win. And then going into that game 5 with that lead early, they were like really bringing the energy. It's like, okay, man, like they feel like they're not a team that's down 3-0, 3-1 right now. And I could legit see them going to 7 and at least with this series. But once you have that happen, that breakdown, breakdown of an inning, there was just no coming back from that. Excuse me. Somebody else in the talk.
I think that the Dodgers are also lucky that things kind of played out the way they did because throughout game 5, when it was still really close, Dave Roberts was deploying absolutely everyone. And I mean, even going into that 9th inning where it ended up being Walker Buehler, there was a lot of questions on who was left, if anyone, in that bullpen, and if the team lost and was going to have to go back to LA Sure, you were going to have the day off, so there was going to be some rest for pitchers. But at this point, you were going to have used a lot of those guys throughout the first 5 games of the series. They were going to be tired, being that at this point they played like 180 plus games this season, if you count everything. And they would have really been exposed to the Yankees offense that was suddenly turning around slightly. So if the Yankees had been able to hold on to that game like any competent team should have, then it really could have gone to it. I think game 6 would have been much more up in the air and you could have seen a game 7.
Yeah, I agree. I'm going to ask this question, and I don't, as you said earlier, Will, like with Boone, I don't think there's really much you can do about like the errors as they happen. But do you think Dave Roberts outmanaged Boone this series? I mean, because we kind of give both managers a lot of shit, and rightfully so at
Rightfully so.
times. But like Dave Roberts outmanaging somebody is kind of just wild to me because it just feels like that never happens.
This is what happens when you have Dumb and Dumber managing against one another.
I was about to say that's not a hard
But yes, I do
hill to
think Dave
climb.
Roberts. I think Dave Roberts pushed about every button he could correctly. Sure, there were instances where he deployed a lot of guys maybe early on, or even coming into the series, there were questions at times about times he did not deploy certain pitchers and situations because he was holding off on using guys later in the series if need be. It worked out. This series, he kind of flipped that. He started using his big guns earlier to try to get games. And there were some questions about whether then that would be issues later on, but they solidified all the wins that they needed to. They need to send it back to LA. I mean, I don't think Boone really did anything wrong per se, other than the questions in game 1. I just think that all the pitching moves Roberts did in the end were right in the moment and enough to counteract the Yankees offense, which was struggling. And that even when it was getting better, was still able to keep him enough in check.
Yeah, and that's a point where I feel like for years there was a lot of questions with Roberts about his decisions with pitchers and stuff like that. But I mean, you got to give him credit because in this game 5, I mean, Flaherty gets shelled early, who had been their best pitcher since really acquiring him, and you know he was able to put a formula
Boy, he had
together.
weird playoffs.
Yeah, he did. He did have a weird playoffs. I
You
do
gotta
have.
give Dave Robert, or you gotta give Dave Roberts credit of,
Oh, I'm not giving him
realizing.
credit now.
I got to give him some credit here. We realize he did win, and they did come back from
Apparently,
5-0.
everything I just said was negativity.
Yeah. You got to give him credit in the sense of knowing that, hey, my starter doesn't have it today. Yeah, he might be my best guy, but you know, we need to close this out. Like this is not, we'll fix it out. We'll fix this tomorrow, sort of deal that a lot of managers play with.
Do you
No,
think he potentially learned a little lesson from that game 5 versus the Mets? Because that's the last time Flaherty pitched. He also did not have his stuff. He pitched arguably a little longer than people thought he would. And his comments after the game kind of came across as, that was a game that I wasn't really managing to win because I wanted to save my guys for the back end of that series. Do you think that he completely changed that game plan because of whether backlash or just how things played out in that game? Or do you think now that it was the World Series, his mindset was a little different and more of that, I could win this today if I keep it close enough. And so that's what he did.
I think it's exactly that. He realized I can win this today. We have the momentum. They don't have the momentum fully. Let's slam the door here. Let's not leave it a crack open for them to somehow make a fluke reverse sweep and take the series from us. It would have been entertaining, but as an Orioles fan, I love seeing the Yankees lose.
I think, yeah, there's probably some of that of, okay, we need to try to win today because, it really in all sports, not just baseball, but like teams that have that 3-0 lead, obviously, we don't see it often where a reverse sweep a reverse sweep happens. But if, if the other team wins that game 5, there's a lot of momentum they have going into that game 6. If they win that game 6, anything can happen in a game 7. So I do feel like even though you have that 3-0 lead, you really want to put it away like before game 6. And I think he really said, look, we keep this close. Obviously, we're a team that can hit home runs. We can get, massive innings. We're going to keep this close, and he did. And I do think he probably learned something because when he made those comments after that game 5 versus the Mets, there was like kind of a tilt of the head from some people about it. But I do think he probably learned something about it and really went all out, and it works, man. I mean, Walker Buehler comes in, and closes out the game, and Treinen throws 42 pitches. I mean, they really gave it all they could, and it was enough in the end. I do have two questions related to the Yankees, which is going to get Yankees fans all up in a stir.
I'll
I'm
answer
sh
that then so that John doesn't get bashed by Yankees
I'm
fans.
I'm sure about it. We had talked about really coming into this postseason that it felt like the AL was wide open. In the NL, you had your Phillies, we thought. You had your Dodgers, your Padres potentially. But in the AL, it was a lot more up in the air. Do you feel like the Yankees, I don't want to say had an easy path because I do believe the Guardians team was good, but it felt like the way they played in the series versus the Dodgers, they severely were really overmatched. Like it's they kept the games close, but it just wasn't what we had seen from them. And I don't know, is there a little bit of, hey, the AL was kind of weaker than the NL and this is why the Yankees were here?
I absolutely think in general the AL was weaker than the NL. I think you kind of stated that anyway with the way you were saying that there were a lot of teams in the National League that it seemed like people would favor in the long run in the playoffs. Of the paths that could have happened, I do think this was probably the hardest actually. I'm just gonna flat out. Yeah, I don't think there was really anyone else in the playoffs this year in the AL the way that everyone was performing when you look at it that I think would have been better than the Yankees. I think when you can talk about what's on paper and what people did maybe in the regular season and say like, the Orioles at times, especially late in the season, really had the Yankees number, or the Astros have a lot of experience and yada, yada, yada. But just based on how everyone looked in the postseason, I mean, I think the only team that had a shot to really dethrone the Yankees were the Guardians. And at times they would fight, but in the end, the Yankees offense was good enough. And I should say their offense was good and their pitching was good enough, stepping up when it needed to in the postseason as the question mark. And ultimately, they were able to outslug a good Guardians bullpen. I don't think in the end, if you really switched it up, the combinations, it would have changed drastically how things ended up.
Yeah, and look, I say this because I think with the Royals or Orioles series, whoever they were going to end up playing, I know the Orioles would have been an interdivision matchup, but it was two teams that were coming in reeling. You had the Guardians, who I think were again a favorite, not a favorite, but a contender in the AL. But even I think they like kind of shattered expectations at some point too. Like, did we think, excuse me, that they were going to get into the ALCS this year? According to our predictions, we definitely didn't. So,
Except for you.
um,
Actually, we all thought they were
no,
in the ALCS right now. Once we get
yeah,
to our postseason brackets,
right. But yeah, man, I don't know. Like, I don't want to take away from what the Yankees did, but it just felt like the Dodgers were more battle tested for this one, and ultimately come out on top. John, anything to add to this?
Honestly, when it comes down to it, I think statistically the edge went to the Yankees, so this doesn't really, help. It doesn't really make sense in terms of the math and everything. The Yankees, I think, batted. I know the Dodgers batted 206. I think the Yankees. I forget what they batted. Hold on, let me
worse.
grab that. No, they didn't.
Yes.
They
Yeah.
were batting two 212. Big difference.
Yeah.
And then pitching, it was the same thing. Like the Dodgers ERA is over 4, the Yankees ERA is like 330 something. It
That's
was
because of game
coming into
four.
this.
That's a little skewed.
Yeah.
Or
Either way, You got to look at it like this: the
Skews a little
Yankees,
blowout skewed it.
the the Yankees could have beaten anyone on paper, yet we saw them struggle to even make the simplest plays. So when you're not a fundamentally sound team, you're going to really struggle, especially in the postseason. And the Yankees struggled when it mattered most.
The other question I'll ask, and I think we've answered this at some points, and I don't want to get too much into the Soto talk because I do want to save that for, free agency when we talk about that. Does this model that the Yankees kind of have with their lineup, will it ever work for them? I mean, you have Judge. Let's say they resign Soto.
Only if they have 3 superstars working at the same time.
Here's
Yeah,
my
and I
here's
think
my
this was our best
question.
chance.
Here's my question. Stanton, right? Like
Mhm.
I he had his moments, whatever, in the regular season, this and that. He was really good for them. He was arguably their best player in the postseason, honestly.
Mhm.
And that's great and all, but he is kind of a liability if he doesn't hit a home run, right? He's a guy that can only play DH. This is a lineup that obviously is very heavily stacked with power hitters. And if they, are not performing to the level that they need to, it just seems like this team is just so many steps behind. So does this model work for them? Like, I feel like I'm hearing a lot from Yankees fans about, we need more guys that can just get on base. We need more guys that, that it's not home run or bust. I think sometimes that's a little over dramatic, but like, well, you can answer this question first. Do you think this model will work for them if it didn't work for them this year?
I think that with the right matchups, it could work. The Yankees situation this postseason and really reflecting them against the Dodgers is that they were definitely living off of their big guns. And in this case, their big guns were Soto and Stanton. They really were not hitting well with runners in scoring position throughout the postseason. It wasn't just the World Series. And as we've said time and time again, Aaron Judge was not Aaron Judge until games 4 and 5 of the World Series, which is just far too late to really do anything, especially because at that point the team was down 3 games to nothing and then 3 games to 1. This model, though, got them to where they are. That so it's hard to say that it wouldn't work. And we did see what happened later in the series when suddenly Volpe was hitting again, when guys were getting on base after seeing pitchers for a lot of the time and we're starting to walk. I think that the Yankees can do it, but they have to take what worked well for them offensively later in the postseason and now kind of use that as the building blocks to in 2025 try to pursue that mentality at the plate throughout the season so that into the postseason it becomes second nature to them. Because if they're just going to be complacent with where some of the hitters were outside of their superstars and be like, all right, we'll just bring in 1 or 2 superstars. Yes, you can get to where you were, but if you face a team that is better than you, especially pitching wise, they will be able to work around that very lopsided lineup. And then this postseason, at least I should say going into the postseason, I think you could have had 4, if not 5 National League teams pitch around the Yankees effectively.
Yeah, and that was always the thing we talked about. It was the pitching around. But yeah, I think having guys like Soto and Judge, obviously they're both top 5 hitters in the entire world. Um, I think they can carry you, but it just excuse me, trying to hold it together here. Feels like, sometimes they rely on them too much. We talked about in the regular season about that. John, what is your take on this?
I want to go back to your comment of if you haven't, like, you have to get into a rhythm here or whatever it was. After 180 games, if you haven't figured it out, are you really ever going to figure it out? Honestly, and that's what I come back to. This lineup really had it was very top heavy. Let's put it that way. In the regular season,
Yeah.
you had Judge and Soto. You weren't really afraid of Stanton. You just had to throw it low and away, and he would chase after it. Everybody else was just kind of guys. And
Mhm.
then Stanton picked it up. in the postseason, Judge fell off a cliff and burst into flames, and then Soto was Soto. So you got to look at it like that. Outside of them, I wasn't really afraid of anyone in terms of they were beatable. This wasn't the early 2000s Yankees here. So when it comes down to it, in my opinion, this method of big guys win championships, I don't think that it's a method that works. Honestly,
It's not consistent work, but yeah, I mean, the 162 games in the end is where you would need to build your framework and kind of how you attack and play your games. And then the postseason is how well can you adapt, because that's when you're going to face teams that are going to know what your strengths and weaknesses are, and they're going to go 110% towards your weaknesses. And it's if you can make the adjustments at the plate to counteract those attacks, whether it's chasing a ball or they want you to hit a high pitch where you're a low ball hitter. You got to make the right adjustments and you got to be patient. And I think in the end, this postseason, the teams that came out on top in the end were the teams that were just far more patient.
Yeah, and look, I like I said, I like what Stanton did this postseason. It feels like
but
he's
he's
kind
always
of
been a good postseason hitter. That's
he
the thing.
has my
He's been
point.
a power postseason hitter. So
Yeah, my point to this like model thing is that when you have guy, and I know Soto's more than just a home run guy, he's an on base guy for sure. But when
but
you
he's a
have
$700 million on base guy.
Yes, he is. But when you have those three guys or those two guys and then Stanton and he can't play the field, it's like, where does he fit in here? Like, does he fit in? It's interesting. So like he's gonna be on the team. He's still got 3 years left on his deal.
And nobody's gonna pay that contract for
Well, but
DH.
that's the thing though, and I don't think they will, but this upcoming season, and I know I'm getting way ahead here. This upcoming season, he's still at 32. In 2026, he drops down to 19, and then the year after 15 per. So does he eventually get moved out? I'm not really sure. But I think again, what he did in this postseason, if they can get that consistently with him, that'd be great. It's just
You're not going to.
that's the issue. Yeah. So the Yankees, I think your first order of business obviously is getting, I don't care what it takes. If it takes $2 billion, you back that Brinks truck up, you sign Soto, you do whatever it takes. I think he wants to be there. I do ultimately think that's where he ends up, but
I don't think so. I think he ends up across the city.
across the
Queens.
city.
You
Oh
think the
God.
Mets are going to get him?
I
No,
do.
the fuck, he will not.
I do.
No.
I do
Uh,
think that he ends up in Queens.
I do think the Mets will make a push. At the moment, my hunch is that because the Yankees lost the World Series, they're going to do everything in their power to keep him there. And the only thing that wouldn't keep him there is that he doesn't want to play there. But I think they will absolutely unload whatever that he wants money wise.
Well, that
Yeah.
would be stupid of him to not want to play there. I mean, let's be honest.
That's what I'm saying, man. Dude, I don't care. If it takes $2 billion, that's what it takes. Like you have to resign him. He's a top 3 hitter on baseball, and I say this every time we talk about him. He's still young. Like it's crazy. He's been around forever. He's still young. He's got experience now. And
I think he's going to get that 14-year deal.
yeah.
There's been talks about whether he would get that because of whether or not he could get the 700 million and what that would mean annually, because he would get on average 50 million for a 14-year deal. I think he gets 14. I think it's even possible he gets 15.
Yeah.
I mean, he's that type of a hitter where one, he is that good for the next 10 years, and then he's still going to have a great approach after that. So I think he's going to get a 14 or $15 million deal, and he's going to beat Ohtani, believe it or not.
I mean, look, he's 26.
Oh, I don't know about that.
Well, like I said, that means he's beating 50 million on a year on average is the thing. The Ohtani thing is 10 years at 700 million, of course, with the deferrals and luxury tax technically like what it qualifies as, it's completely different. But to say that Soto is going to, but to get Soto is going to get more than 50 million a year per on average, yes, I think that is absolutely possible, and I think therefore a team will push the years, and because of that, he'll break Ohtani.
Yeah,
I
mean,
will say this: if that's the case, then he's definitely not going to be a Yankee because the Yankees are pretty smart when it comes to big signings like
No,
that.
they're not. Let's be honest. We've
They
been
are.
bullshitting them
They're
over the
better
last 3-4 years because they make
on,
the
hold
signing for that one big. No, you shut up. I'm talking. I'll mute
How
you
you
if I
shut
have
up?
to.
I'm talking.
The Yankees are
talking.
absolutely the team where over recent years they will spend the big bucks to get the one guy, and then we just complain about them about why are you spending the money on the one guy when you need to build the army around them. And so they are absolutely the team that will put the money on the Soto.
There is a team across town that spends stupid money worse, and that is the New York Mets.
They do spend it worse because they spent a lot of money a year or two ago and it did not work out well. So definitely worse.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I will say 15-year deal takes him to 41, and with these contracts now, like you can cut that down for the last 3
highly
years.
possible.
That's what I'm saying, man. Like I do think a 15-year deal is absolutely possible.
I think in the next 10 years, we're going to see a 20-year-old get a 20-year deal.
And by the way, he just turned 26 like a week ago. So
Can we all agree that a 20-year deal is
20.
we're at the line, right?
There's
20-year
going to be a
deal.
point the way things are trending
That's what Will
before
just said.
2040.
Yeah.
That's what I said. Before 2040,
Yeah,
the way
okay.
things are trending, I absolutely think there's going to be that young guy that a team is like, all right, here's 20 years at 400 million or whatever.
All Skeens.
And then he's gonna tear his ACL and never be able to play baseball again.
I thought you were talking about
guaranteed money.
I thought you were talking about a 20-year contract for Soto. I'm like,
No. I was thinking in my head 20-year deal. I'm like, we have to be like at the peak, right?
Yeah.
Like
yeah.
until we start figuring out how to put brains in robot bodies, like to extend careers to like 100 or something. I don't think we get any higher than that, right?
Probably not.
Probably not much higher than 15.
That's how Ted Williams
really,
makes his comeback.
I mean, listen, someone's got to do it.
Overall,
Someone's got to get his head out of the freezer.
Ted Williams finally wins a World Series in the year 2050 with the Boston Red Sox.
Overall, congrats. I know John won't tell you, but congrats to the Dodgers. And now this goes back to the video.
Hold on. Congrats to the Dodgers. You did what you should do. Congratulations. You got to win 3 more for this to be worth it.
No, wait. Something
According
we
to
haven't
us.
said yet. We had this whole conversation about how many World Series is it going to be. That's one. That's one.
Yeah,
that's one.
That's what I was just.
I said they would win one.
This
is their one.
I was just about to reference them. I think it was our second video we ever did for baseball, at least, or the second show we ever did for baseball was talking about that. And they got the first one early, so the sky's the limit for them. I think they're going to be the other. It's going to be the Yankees.
As long as they have a Will Smith, they have a way.
Exactly, and he'll be there.
And Otani's pitching next year.
And Otani and a Freeman.
Yeah, man, that's crazy.
No, come on. Since 2020, a Will Smith has been on the World Series team every year. Dodgers had catcher Will Smith, then it was pitcher Will Smith for the next 3 years, and now it's back to the catcher. Where there's a will, there's a way.
This is where like the Pirates sign actor Will Smith because they're too cheap.
I've already said the Phillies need to sign pitcher Will Smith, have him pitch only in blowouts, and then they'll win the World Series next year. So that needs to be everyone's plan.
Look, actor Will Smith has made enough money in his career. Sign him to like a league minimum, put him on the bench, never play him, but he's on the roster.
Hey,
by the way, double points for the guy replying to Will Smith smacking Chris Rock in the replies.
I was about to say, we know he can hit.
Yeah, he can hit. He can absolutely hit.
Let's expand the rosters to 30, and then we'll see about that happening.
Let's see. Chris Rock's head was about
down the pipeline than you think.
Let's see. Chris Rock's head was about at the letters for Will Smith when he was standing up against him. So any ball that's like middle up is going to be gone in Will Smith's batter's box. That's the way I look at it.
He's not even going to need a bat. He's just going to take it with his hand.
Righty bat.
All right, let's talk about our predictions. You need me to go east to west, right? Or you said
you can honestly do whatever order you want.
Okay.
Start with the Central.
Start with the Central. That's
we kind of.
I mean,
now we'll start
swing and a miss.
We'll start in the East for these. So Again, I think it was
I was wrong.
Our first 5 shows, we
You
did
you said the Phillies were going to win the division. You're the only one that said that, so you were right.
Oh, are we starting the NL East? I thought you were starting the
Yeah,
Oh, AL.
We'll start on the NL East.
Good. NL's better anyway.
All right, good. I will win.
We definitely had some predictions here. So yeah, I mean, I was victim overall to picking teams that had over 100 wins, which we got none of this year. I had the Dodgers. We'll get to them. I had them at 110, but I also had the Braves at 102. Their injury situation kind of screwed that up. So, like, based on me having 2 teams way over 100, my predictions are a little bit, or my win totals are a little bit wonky here. But yeah, I mean, I had the Braves winning the division.
Wow,
Man,
I really had the Marlins finishing ahead of the Nationals.
they got decimated.
Oy.
Hey, we all did. I mean,
No,
I don't. You did.
No.
You did. It's right there.
Wait. Oh yeah, I did.
Your
Sorry.
predictions did. Your whole
Sorry.
argument was that the Nationals weren't going to be
Sorry.
as bad.
No,
I
Not only did you have that, you had the Nats at 74 wins.
No.
You had the Marlins at 77 wins, like a moron.
Actually, to be fair, that pick for the Nationals is actually a little closer than
Yeah, exactly. That's what I was gonna say.
From a
From a
Because
win-loss total sense, yes.
there is 2 predictions that I am very proud of. The one, of course, the Gritty Tigers getting to the playoffs. I predicted that. Number 2, when I said 74 wins to the Nationals, the disrespect I got on that show was wild. I think John was like, "Oh, 60 wins, blah blah, whatever." They made it close, man. I mean, what did they get to? They got to 71. Like, I was pretty close to
I
that.
mean,
I
you
was
still
happy with
deserve
that.
the disrespect, but they still outperformed what it looked like they were going to be. I'm just going to take pride in the fact that even though I had the Phillies in second place, I got their win total exactly right. So I know my boys.
Right. Yeah, and then excuse me, I had the Mets at 83 wins, but missing the playoffs. But I remember,
Oh, good. Thanks for putting up the spreadsheet.
I remember talking about them as like, hey, they could get in, but had them barely missing out. And yeah, I don't. I'm losing my voice as we speak. I don't remember. Well, you had the Mets at 500. Okay, I was gonna say
I had the Mets at 500. I mean, I was with you in the sense that I was I wasn't against them. I just thought the Senga injury would hurt them a lot more than it did. And obviously, since they didn't have Senga literally for the entire year except for one game in the postseason, missing him did not really factor in at all. So,
boys,
kudos to the Mets.
To be fair, how could we have accounted for the OMG Grimace Mets?
that's true.
Come on. We did not factor that into our predictions.
World takeover from them right there. But yeah, so I'm gonna ride my high horse on that Nationals not being as dog shit as they were. Or that you guys thought they were going to be, and yeah, I mean, I'm that's where I'm taking it. But yeah, the Braves getting decimated by injuries, basically out of the jump hurt a lot for me. I will say.
Oh yeah.
They still got into the playoffs, so we were all right in that sense, but not good for them. All right, AL East. We all had the Orioles winning. Yes, we all had the Orioles.
Yes, we all had the Orioles. What was the Orioles' final record? Because I was the only one that actually might have been right.
Orioles were 91 and 71.
All right, I had him at 93. I was the closest. That's about it.
Did I have him over 100? No, I had him at 96.
I had them. I had them at 98, I believe. Yeah,
90. You both had him at 98. You both had him at 98.
I mean, one thing, we all disrespected the crap out of the Red Sox.
We did. We absolutely did.
I mean, we didn't account for the fact they had so many errors at the beginning of the season. Their ERA was fantastic.
I mean, that wasn't part of the predictions, and that doesn't matter.
I mean, I think what I love about this is that I love that Tyler was really the only one who was high on the Yankees, at least winning wise.
Yeah, no, I was not big on the Yankees. I thought the Rays were going to do Rays things, and then the Yankees were going to fall into their trap offensively that they have the past few years of Judge will get hurt at some point, and then everything else will fall apart.
I mean,
the homeless Rays.
Okay. I still thought the Rays were going to do good. I mean, I had them at 88 wins, but Yeah, I had the Blue Jays at 85, and then like the Red Sox. Like I remember saying like this is a division where 4 teams could make the playoffs. Um, obviously was not even close to that, but
Hey, you
yeah,
got half of it, 50%.
when I was reading through this and looking at the Red Sox, like damn, we really disrespected the Red Sox. That's kind of crazy. Um,
What was their final win total? Wasn't it
That
90?
is still
finished at-
not the worst disrespect that you guys have in this
Oh,
whole.
we know
Oh no,
it's-
we
my
know what the
God,
disrespect
man.
is.
The
and-
disrespect
It's not
is
even just
clearly
the one that you're
Dodgers.
thinking of. You guys disrespected the whole Central, like both sides.
I know both
Like,
leagues.
oh my God.
Horrendous. I mean, heck, I remember the fact that I was like, the Royals are going to do better, but God, I still thought they were going to be a closet team.
Yeah, and 3 teams made the playoffs.
Red Sox were 500. So
Yeah, no, we were off by a little bit.
yeah, I was 10 games off on that one.
I mean,
let's-
you were a game off for the Yankees, Tyler, so you weren't that far off.
Yeah,
Can I be
the Blue Jays and
technically
Red
that I
Sox
got-
though.
That I predicted somebody would go 500.
Who?
I
Oh,
predicted the Blue Jays.
Oh,
That doesn't count. No, sorry.
Aw.
That means absolutely nothing. You
Uh,
get
I
credit
got-
for the Phillies
I
winning
got
the
the
division.
numbers right.
No, you get credit for the Phillies winning the division and the Mets getting third place so far.
So far I'm in first place with 2.
Oh God.
I get the bonus point because I got the wins right for the Phillies.
Wait a minute.
Oh yeah,
No,
we're having a big dick competition over here. What's happening?
Yeah, you're
Tyler,
losing.
you have the smallest.
as usual.
Yeah, but easily. Me and John are tied.
I just re-looked at my central predictions, and boy, oh boy. Let's
Yeah,
move
that's gonna be
over
a
to
fun
that.
one.
Move over to that now. We'll do NL first. This one is pretty brutal. So, we thought the Brewers were gonna suck, huh? I mean, we
I still think they're gonna suck. The playoffs proved me right.
I mean, John at 73 wins was even worse than mine. 20
I'm
games
sorry
ago.
that they sold everyone and then I didn't account for the fact they would go on this run.
Yeah, I think, yeah. I mean that the Brewers were. We had talked about it for a while. The Brewers were always going to be the worst one we made. We all had them in the cellar, in the Central. That was not the case. I will say I'm not taking this disrespect though from Bobby because outside of that, like the order is all screwed up for me. But my win totals are actually pretty close for these teams.
Yeah, we all were fairly close, I feel like.
I did have the Cardinals winning the division. Ouch. At 88 wins, but
Moron.
they were only 5 games off of that. I was one game
I
off.
had the Cubs lucking into the division.
Yeah, you
Not that they would
did.
necessarily win.
Yeah, but you and me had the Cubs, but our win totals are close. They're like 2 off.
I had the Cubs at 84 wins. They finished with 83, but I had the Cubs getting the 3rd wild card spot. I had the Pirates at 500. That wasn't close, but I was only 1 game off on the Reds too. So, and I remember saying about the Reds, I was like, they're going to take a step back because 2023 was, a facade of some sort. They're going to take a step back, and they did. So I'm happy about that one. I actually, I don't think this is the Brewers is bad. It's bad, but I don't think the NL Central is as bad as it could have been. I mean, it was another shit
Again,
show.
we
So.
didn't account for the fact that they would somehow power their way through selling that farm. Let's be honest.
Yeah. They did it. But as Will said, they then got to the postseason and didn't do jack shit. So to us,
they
they
sold
still
the
suck.
brewery and didn't do shit in the postseason.
I will say, I will probably not make the same mistake next year. That's all I'm going to say with them. The proof is in the pudding. And also, this is the 2nd year in a row I predicted the Cardinals to win the division. That reign is over. We're done there. It ain't happening.
I
now.
thought they were going to be a 500 team. I could see the holes. I don't know what everyone was getting on their
They
bandwagon
just
for.
seemed really too old for me, honestly.
The pitching moves did not make sense to me in the end. Everyone was
Ty
raving
was
about
just a
all
big
the
believer in the Lou,
Yeah, of course.
No,
Lou.
everyone was raving about the pitching moves that they had made, but to me, none of the moves stood out as being good enough. The only one that looked like it could be beneficial was Sonny Gray, and he had his moments throughout the season. But overall, it just seemed like they were betting on getting a bunch of guys to eat up innings. However, when you looked at stats from last season, they got 3 of the top 5 pitchers in hits allowed.
Yeah.
That's not a good recipe for success if you want the pitchers to actually perform well.
God, man, it's going to be another weird division
Their
next
offense is
year.
also old. Well, now it's young because the old guys are either gone or might get traded.
Are going to get shipped
And
out.
hey,
Yeah.
Reese Hoskins.
All right,
Brewers, not Cardinals.
let's go over to the AL. Another one that's a little bit wonky. Look, all I'm saying,
You guys were close.
all I'm saying is that the Tigers got in, which I've talked at nauseum about.
Guys,
I know you hate it.
We're starting. Hold on. We have the wrong. Let's start with the White Sox.
Right. You're right.
John was the closest with 59 wins.
Yeah.
And
they
that
had
was
41.
They had 41
how many more wins than
They
they
had
actually
41.
won?
John
Think about
was
that. Think about that for a second. John was the closest one to them at an 18-win difference.
Jesus Christ.
And it's because they were that much worse.
Wow.
Yeah, that's bad. I will say I tooted my own horn about the Tigers. I did have the Twins missing the playoffs, and because I really did not believe in them, and guess what? They proved me right because that was a train wreck in the end.
I love how I just
ultimate
have a bunch of
collapse.
question marks near my stuff.
Yeah, because
Nobody knows what you were thinking.
Yeah.
I have zero idea what you had. You know how many times I scrubbed through that video trying to find it today?
I did not have any records. That's the thing. I just picked
No,
it up.
Yeah, I know.
you threw them out of your ass, yet sometimes you were actually right.
Basically,
So
you
far,
did
I'm in the lead
predictions. You were
here,
like,
so-
you were literally like,
Oh, so
yeah,
far
the
I'm
Twins
doing
are
the
gonna
tally.
make
We're
it.
all tied again.
Tyler
Thanks to
is
the
not
Tigers.
tied.
Yeah, because of
get
the
outta
Tigers, we're all
here.
tied.
I
Because
had
of the Tigers making the playoffs, we're all tied.
You guys had the Twins in. I had them out. I had the Tigers in. You guys didn't. Screw
No,
you.
I
That's
have
just
tallies right. No, I have tallies right now. If you got the team right in the right position, if you got their record right, or if you're correct about them making the playoffs. Because
Okay.
of that, now we're all tied
Wait.
because of the Tigers.
Wait a minute. Who
Do
established
we
these
give
rules?
wait. Do we give John the White Sox? I know he was far
No.
off. But
No, we
holy
all got the
Christ.
White Sox. We all got the White Sox. You don't
No.
get
Yeah, but
one
I
for
was
being the
closest.
closest. You only get the point if you were the exact
And
record.
I get half a point.
It's just 21. We're playing 21 here. We're not playing exact here.
That's like that you giving that to John would be like if you threw a pass that got
No,
stopped
we
at the
all got
40-yard line
credited-
and called it a touchdown.
It's
We
like
all
giving
got
the Astros
credit-
the World
No, no,
Series.
no.
Oh wait,
We all got credited for the White Sox because we all had them in last place.
Okay, then what's the score?
We
No,
all have
that's
This
all
eight.
you
game
need.
that I don't
We all have
know
8
how to
points right
play.
now.
We do have to talk about the team that we all absolutely screwed up on, the Guardians. I
Yeah.
mean, we don't know from John's question marks, but I think we all had them under 500. Damn, what a good bullpen does for your team. I had them at 77.
And an offense that showed up for the first half of the season and bits and pieces in the second.
And then this prediction's funny because I remember, I was saying to Will, I was like, man, you're a big Royal supporter. Like, I remember you predicting them in the end. Bro, we were 1 win difference off.
You had me as a big supporter because I was they made so based on my prediction, they had like a 10 game or 10 plus game jump over their previous season, which is huge from a rebuilding standpoint. They finished with 21 games better than they were last year. They had a similar jump to what the Orioles had 2 years ago.
I think what it was too is if I remember in that video, you were like, I could see them like being a wild card team though. Like you were like, it's like kind of
No, not this
unfathom-
year. I was like in a year or two.
I feel like I remember you saying like they could compete, which was like unfathomable because they had been so bad. But it's just funny now looking at the win total. I was like, damn, I really only had them 1 win less, and I was like praising you for the Royals pick.
I know. I was taking it in, but I knew there was a complete lie.
Yes. Oh, that's
just
good.
point out that I
Absolutely
love
gaslighting
how-
me.
I love how
Yes.
all of us had the Twins winning the division. They didn't even
Nope.
finish
I-
top
I-
3.
There's
dot,
somebody
dot.
here who did not have them winning the division. A
I'm
smart
sorry.
man.
You're right. You're right.
Yeah, can't you read the blurry font in front of you?
Who loves his Tigers
Jeez.
dearly. The Tigers are my AL team going forward, by the way, if that wasn't obvious.
Is that official? Is that?
That's absolutely, dude.
Are you
I'm
buying
like,
a Tigers jersey.
dude.
Yeah, that
First of
Michigan
all-
flag is going to go away for a Tigers one next year.
First of all, dude,
I mean, whoa, hold on. He doesn't need to get rid of the Michigan flag. He just put up the Detroit one next to it.
I'm
All right,
gonna
he'll
I'm
put a
gonna get
sticker.
him. You know what? For Christmas, I'm gonna get him a jersey that's numbered -0 with gritty tigers on the back. That's what I'm gonna do.
love it. I would wear that every day.
I'm
Um,
gonna get him one that says the Gritty Kitties.
Yo, shout out Detroit though. Low key, Detroit is a hell of a sports town, and when their teams are doing well, it's electric. The
Yeah,
time,
Fuck your
too bad they
airport, though.
suck majority of the time.
dude,
so
but
it's not.
dude, the Lions are like awesome to watch. The Red Wings when they were good back in the day, the Tigers, like they were the story of baseball. Shout out Detroit, low key a great sports town. I have advocated more for Detroit than anybody in the world, by the way. So just
You might be
remember
the
that.
only one doing that, by the way.
Just remember that when I maybe visit, one day.
Oh, so
All right.
remember that in 2025 when he throws the Tigers in the dirt.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
when he abandons the Gritty Tigers. Finally,
agreed. Yeah. All right, NL West. This was interesting. I actually forget what win totals you guys had. Okay, we both had 110.
I was correct with the
what does
Diamondbacks.
yours say for the Dodgers?
John is completely out of contention on this one, by the way.
Yeah, he just started rattling off names and was like, I'm done.
I have no idea.
Yeah. And this is
we all knew the Dodgers were gonna win.
yeah, but I mean I had him at 110 wins, which was I overshot the moon a little bit. But so did Will. So that's okay.
Yeah.
You guys were actually this is the what you guys don't notice, by the way. This is the team that you guys were roughest on with the Rockies, by the way. You guys both had him at 55 wins, and they actually beat you there.
Oh yeah, they did.
They finished with 61.
Yeah.
Yeah, my question marks.
Just by default, your question.
They don't win you bonus points,
why.
Travers.
If they did, I would be undefeated, wouldn't I?
I had the
So what you
Diamondbacks.
don't know is that those question marks are made of correct numbers.
I had the
The wild
Diamondbacks at 85, but I also had them in the wild card, which they missed because they choked. So that's sad.
I think you actually said no. I want to pull back something I saw earlier. You made a bold statement during your predictions. You said that this year the MVP competition would come down to Ronald Acuna Jr. and Fernando Tatis.
And damn,
boy, did that not work out.
Yeah, and damn if it didn't.
Woof.
I mean, Acuna, give me some slack. He blew out his knee.
Yeah, but
I do think
really
you had
think-
the Padres as a wild card team. I think you had said that though. They were going to be a third wild card team.
Yeah, because I think that night when we were recording was when they got ceased, I think, right? So then
this was actually before the Snell move. So at this point, Snell and Cease were not on their teams.
Gotcha.
And before the night before Angel Hernandez retired.
Great.
Might have been minutes before for all we
Our
know.
best performing video, by the way, or at least set of videos. Thanks, guys.
Go check it out in the card here.
I did have five.
Until I badmouthed apparently Ohtani.
I am not adding a
Yeah,
card.
I was gonna
on
say
VOD.
make Bobby do work. Padres I had at 83. John had him in fourth. Will had him in fourth too. Okay. But we had the same win total. Giants I had fourth. Yeah, I mean, it kind of played out. I mean, the only thing was that the Padres were a juggernaut.
Can the two people who have the Giants in third explain what the thought was?
I didn't love the Padres, and that was the main thing. I didn't love the Padres. I thought they were both kind of decent. I will say, I had different predictions than what are listed when it came to the end of the season when I looked at my own Word document. I had actually had the Padres in third at 85 wins, but when we made our video, I had stated that the Giants were third and the Padres were fourth, so I kept it true to that for this. I had actually, my final predictions had the Padres at 85 wins, they had 85 wins and making the playoffs, and I had the Giants at like 79 wins, and this was after the Snell and Cease moves.
Yeah.
So, plus there might have been another one or two smaller things that we're just not remembering because a lot happened at the end there in the offseason. But I was really mixed on the Padres overall, and I thought the Giants were a tad better. And since they had a new manager, that would at least help them get just enough in.
I think the Padres, for me, if I remember, I was like, their starting pitching is what worries me. And again, this was before the Cease trade. So I feel like when that happened, I feel like I did have them in, but I can't remember. But yeah, overall, man, the Padres, I really wish they won that first series against the Dodgers. Like, no disrespect really to the Dodgers. The Padres were just a fun team to watch. And also, like, it's hard for us to predict that Jurickson and Profar were just going to be like one of the best hitters in baseball this year 'Cause,
For
you know,
half a
that
season. The other
yeah.
half he was old Jerkson.
Yeah, but you know, there was some questions there, but you know, he stepped up. Tatis, maybe not an MVP candidate, but a
Like
good
the second
season.
half of Full Metal Jacket, right, Will?
Good one,
Uh,
buddy.
AL West to round it out. I
Hey, John, defend those Mariners now.
yeah, can we
You had
did.
them in
Can I
first.
see who I
I
had?
will say this: two things. I'm gonna make fun of John and I'm gonna praise John. John, you had the Mariners
I
in
mean-
first, like a moron. However, you were the only one that had enough balls to actually put the Angels in last place where they deserved to be.
Okay, I got a funny story about that. So I just watched back the video because this was the division that I didn't have some win totals for. And
Right.
in that video, I swear to God, go watch it back. For some reason, I said if Mike Trout goes out with a long-term injury this year,
Yeah.
then they're gonna finish in last place. And by God, I put bad juju on Mike Trout?
Oh, I
That's
mean,
exactly
we
what
were
happened.
all.
I don't think
we
with his
were all
injury
in
history, that's
unison.
bad juju.
We were all in unison that we agreed that there was a potential avenue for the Angels to finish in last place. John's the only one that committed to it, though, with his
Yeah.
predictions. As in the end, we all should have.
Yeah, I mean, there's the Johnson curse for the Angels.
I just it was funny because like I watched it back and I was like, huh, that's exactly what happened, huh? The Rangers, I also don't have their win total, but I said on the video that I thought they were going to be a wild card team, which based on the other win totals, they would have had to have been like an 86 or 87 win team.
I don't think I had them
so
making the playoffs.
I don't think you
You
did
did
either.
not. No, you did not.
Do I get a point for that?
Sure.
You had the Astros as the no. You had the Astros as a
Wait a
third.
minute. Hold on a second.
Hold on. If we're gonna give points to for predicting
You're changing the
non-post,
rules mid-game.
I said you got points if you got it for a postseason team was in it. You said you wanted points for a postseason team not getting in. That's
We're gonna
completely
have to
different.
start this all over just to
No,
recalculate.
we
the
are
points.
It doesn't matter. John already lost anyway.
Oh my God, John, how could you?
It's all my
I
question
know.
marks. They doomed me in the end.
Yeah, it's
they
his
were the
question
cheat
marks that did him
code.
in partially.
Will, with
yeah.
your super accurate standings here, what who had the best predictions this season?
You and me were tied.
Oh my God, look.
If you want to give a slight edge, it would go to you because I got 2 extra points because I got 2 teams like exactly right in the sense of their records. Other than that, you got the most right in regards of teams and their placement and whether they made the playoffs or not.
Wait a minute, we didn't go over Bobby's picks.
Bobby doesn't submit any; they don't count.
Listen, I was right, and the only prediction I had is that the Pirates were going to have a perfect season. That was literally the prediction I made, and I was completely right.
Tyler, how perfect did this Pirate season feel?
It was perfect until April 1st, and then it was not so perfect anymore.
All right, Bobby, you won for a day.
Nice.
Yeah.
Hold on, not for a day.
No,
for like how many
Benny
was
Hill
it?
music
they swept the I think they
all right 5 days.
They swept the Marlins to start the season or something. Big whoop. Looking back now,
whoop-de-doo, the team that had no will to live.
I think they won their first like 5 or 6 games, and that's what we were joking.
Yeah, they
about.
won their
damn right they did. You want to know
that
who
was
the
their
only
first
one to call that
series,
was? Right here, buddy.
Right here, we can't even see you in your lair.
Lack of
Too many other boxes on the screen right now. I'm sorry.
And the producer can't squeeze himself in there.
You from turning on a light.
Oh,
but,
sure too.
All this. By the way, talking about the Angels, they're not going to finish in last place next year. Now that they have the man.
Dude, they are trying already. Jorge Soler, Scott Kingery, god damn, they are building the Phillies' old farm system and a bunch of has-been hitters. I called 2 weeks and everyone's hurt.
Dude, they turned Mickey Moniak around. I know he was the first overall pick.
For 1 season.
Yeah, hey.
He was dog shit this past year.
Logan O'Hara.
I'm going to call that Anthony Rendon continues his slumping ways.
Did he prefer sitting on the bench in a cast than playing baseball?
That he plays 20 games a year and then collects $1 billion paycheck. Yeah, I can get behind that too. But yeah, that is our predictions that we had, and sometimes it doesn't always work out. Sorry, I'm also reading a message as as I'm closing this out here because
We are great at multitasking here at BLB because once something pops up, we're like, ooh, butterfly.
yeah, no, it was something that our lovely producer was telling me to tell you guys that we will be doing some off-season stuff. So our season doesn't end here, our videos don't end here, our show doesn't end here. We will be doing some
Worst performances of the season coming up.
Yeah, we are doing some awards, which will be fun. We'll be talking
Not a
about the
sponsor.
off season.
We have a big umpire episode coming up
We have-
too.
we-
That's going to be probably our best video. I'm gonna be honest with you.
We have some
Oh, God.
No, Angel
stockpiles.
Hernandez isn't in it.
We
He
have
is.
some
He
stockpiles.
is. He umped the season.
The ump
so
this
he's in
season,
it.
there are numbers for Angel, and they have been crunched.
They have been crunched.
we do have some ideas out there. We're gonna also probably do some fun stuff, maybe some tier lists of some random stuff. So make sure to look out for that.
That's what they want to hear, our tier lists again.
Yes, great tier list. But with that,
And we're gonna have Tyler try and steal and break Ricky Henderson's stolen base record.
yes, I
There we go.
am an elite base runner. I can't. But gentlemen, we have made it through a full season of baseball on this podcast. Love it. Gonna be back, as we said, in this offseason and next year. It's been fun. If you enjoyed the content here, make sure you like and subscribe to the YouTube channel. Find us on social media on Twitter at BL_breakdowns, Big League Breakdowns everywhere else. And again, show us some love. It's been a long season. We've made it. Congratulations to the Dodgers. But that is all for BLB here on episode 25. We will see you next time.